Hello, everyone. I was a little delayed because my camera wasn't cooperating, but I guess it is now. So we'll see once I review this. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm happy to have your subscription. I hope you stay for a good long while. Since we're on this topic of karma, the last few videos that I've done has talked about, almost like you reap what you sow, your karma's coming back. I did one on Alicia Keys. I did one on her and her, well, I guess, still husband, at least for right now, and then her dealing with India Ari some 20 years ago when they first came out with their records. And now, still talking is the topic of Shannon Sharpe, which I was just gonna let that pass, but karma is karma, and so we're on the topic, and I'll pour a little into that. That's been over a month now, but it's still such a hot topic because I think for him, he's had so many guests on his show, on his podcast, in which he's asked some of the best questions. He really is a good interviewer, I think. I've enjoyed all of his shows. But he talks about relationships in such a way, and he actually had one with Ricky Smiley. I think I'll drop that in the description box for your view, where they were talking about an ideal woman and the characteristics they wanted in that woman, and just everything that was important to them in their ideal spouse. And then you have this unfolding of his 2-year relationship with the 20-year-old OnlyFans on the adult site of OnlyFans, Gabrielle Zuniga. So this talk today is about the things that we do in the dark that come to light. And it's something how a person can have a persona in public and a personality in private where the two don't really match. It's like, to me, it's like two-faced because for me, it's important to be authentic. I don't be the same crazy person in front of your mother, your grandmother, your boss, your whatever. But when you got to put two different faces on all the time, it's how do you do that? How do you do that? That's a lot of work. But nonetheless, here he was having this, I guess, I don't even want to go into the research. I'm just going to off the top of my mind that I remember because I want to talk about the outcome, not so much the issue, because we're still talking a little bit about karma. And then he met her at a gym, and they started this 2-year relationship, and they were supposedly both consensual in their sexual interactions. And hey, what you do in private with as your sex act is your thing, as long as it's consensual. But now she was alleging that it was sexual allegations and some rape and some, I guess it kind of went too far, whatever their thing was, kind of went too far. And she went and got this attorney, Mr. Busby, who goes after all. Now, isn't it funny? Now, this is another thing. Isn't it funny that this attorney Busby, all of his clients are women that just happen to be going after Black men? Now, I've noticed that. But then again, I pay close attention to my culture. So this isn't about specifically Black men, but I keep my eye out on how society treats them because I have a thing or two to say about that. So it was just ironic that all of he went after anyway, I'm not even going to list, but all of his clients are women who's going after Black celebrities. But nonetheless, and they managed to settle, and this was settled. She went, this Gabriella Zuniga, 20-year-old OnlyFans, went for $50 million, and then they settled very quickly, very quickly. So that's telling, to an undisclosed amount. But nonetheless, she pins an OnlyFans farewell letter to all her OnlyFans. It says, well, this community has given me a life that I wouldn't have ever had. And I will love you all forever. Something like that. Like she's some retiring star. Well, no, you're not. You were on an adult site, and that's how you were making your living. And you found a big fish who was fish foolish to go after you. And so that's my thing. So let's talk about, so that's the background and a little bit of my opinion. But here's the thing about it is that not so long ago, Shannon Sharpe had Monique, the comedian Monique, on his show, and she was telling him then, "You're 50 something years old. I think 53 years old. You need to be finding a woman and settling down." And he was saying, "I didn't want to settle down." And she said, "You need to stop dating these girls." Right there. If you are tuned in energetically, you would have heard the directive and not taken it as a lightweight joke from a comedian, Monique. The same happened with Cat Williams, who was on Shannon's show and was telling him why he would never date white women because it always turns out, now this isn't about race, I'm telling you what Cat Williams was saying, and that it always turns out some kind of way against the black man. And then he used the example of Jonathan Majors and the white woman that he was dating and running down the street and all that. Well, he is since now married to Megan Good. But nonetheless, the point of bringing these examples up is that there seems to be a sense in Hollywood that they can do the strange and the deranged and get away with it because Hollywood is its own Hollyweird kind of way. And that they can get away with mismanaging proper manners of a person. In other words, they can be insulting. They can have expectations that if you want your career to go anywhere, then you're going to do X, Y, Z sexually. All of that, all of that. And then for so long, nobody would take the case. Like this Busby lawyer is just like racking up the millions behind it. But the point I wanted to make about this karma piece is that when we are not alert enough to hear the signals in advance, when what I call the bomb drops, all of those little reminders will come flickering back like, oh, I was told that. Oh, I should have remembered that. Oh, I should have known that. Why did I do that? Because the exposure is now exposed. And what happens is the sharp, no pun intended for Shannon Sharpe, but the sharp image that people had of him before has now been tainted by this 20-year-old woman. It's almost like a David and a Goliath. Like this little woman who no one ever even heard of takes down this giant of an industry guy. He was great in football. He was tight end, and now his own tight end is tight, getting tied down. And he had his successful show and all of that. And here she comes on an OnlyFans. And really, I mean, I'm no really judge, but she's not even that knockdown gorgeous, I don't think. She's very girl next door. So, I mean, what was it? That he didn't have the sense enough to, even if most of their interactions they both agree were consensual, but he didn't have the sense enough to either have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement as to their private times, and as a celebrity, protect their image, his image as a celebrity, to make sure that there was a strong sense of privatization, not for an inappropriate act, but just for being with the person. I would think he would do that. But I guess he didn't. And so a lot of times people do things without a forethought of protecting themselves. Image is everything and character is everything. And once it's tainted, it's very difficult to reconcile it because people form an opinion. Now, I would say this too. The age difference. Now, they are both adults, but what 50-year-old man, 50 to 55 years, I think he's like 53, I should have looked it up, but I don't want to go into the details. I want to talk about the karma. What 53-year-old man who is supposedly good in his career and of a sound mind and can attract a woman and is supposedly together, why is that aged man looking at such a young, entering adulthood woman? I would say young girl. I can't even imagine that. I don't know. I just think of the dirty old man when I was growing up. I mean, anybody outside of my, 10-year zone, to me is too old or too young for me. If you're if I'm 22 and you're 42, to me you're too old for me. That's just me though. But nonetheless, there he is 53 and she was 20. At the time she was 20. And so he could have really have been not only her father, but grandfather if he started early enough. I guess I just don't get it. I I guess mathematically I don't get it. The other part that I don't get is if you're in that I can get any woman because I'm a celebrity and all I got to do is just let them know who I am, and that's a part of it too. That's a that's a part of feeding the ego. Because the ego says, let's see if we can get her too. The ego says, let's see if we can text her and she texts back. If we call her and she call back, if we can get her, because the ego needs to be satisfied. No, excuse me. That's narcissism. You're playing a game. They're playing a game. So a lot of times when that happens, I think in his case, he got comfortable with the fact that in his earlier talk with Ricky Smiley, that ideal woman he was looking for was not desirous enough for him to let go of the girl toys he was playing with. So he didn't have a sense of settlement. And until he settled this case, I'll put it that way. So that's another one. The third thing I'd say is there's a scripture, a biblical scripture, 1 Corinthians 13, I think, that says, when I was a child, I did childish things, but when I became a man, an adult, I put away my childish things and I began to act and conduct myself like a man, like an adult. Now I'm paraphrasing because again, I think I'm kind of in my lazy mode of, I don't feel like looking it all up, but you get the point. You get the point. It is a time that we have to accelerate out of that game playing, playerism, two personalities, your personality at home and your different personality at work, and your different personality with the girls or your different personality with the boys, and your whoism isn't intact because you're dancing around with it. You're changing every situation every time. So I'll say this as I want to end here because again, I didn't want to spend even this much time on it, but it was a month ago and it's still every day showing up in some of these news reels. When karma comes back, or when karma comes, it will make you reflect on your deeds and what you could have done. Because karma, if anything else, besides just knocking you all over the place, it makes you understand what not to do more than anything else. It's a what not you should have done. It is more than anything else what not you should have done, and repeatedly. The lesson came and you still repeated it. You ignored it. You shunned it. You turned the other cheek. You thought you were getting away with it. And you kept on and on and on and on and on for weeks, months, and even years. And then it came down. And then it can come down by what I call, again, I don't want to dismiss or belittle her. She's a multimillionaire now. So, but in a game she played too. But when I say a no-name, nobody person who was on an adult site, selling images and whatnot, to bring down such a lauded career, when I say bring it down, I mean put a different face and image on it, because his achievements he's achieved, and how he's perceived is how he's perceived. But we can't deny the fact that it gave a look that made every eyebrow raised a little bit and go, behind closed doors. So be careful as to what those behind closed doors can do, because people will sell you out for 2 bags of chips if they can. So we need to be reminded of that, and to understand, if anything else, that it's not so much you say, it's so much that you do. It's not so much you're portrayed, it's so much of who you are. It's not so much how you're seen, it's so much your real image. And when someone comes and changes that, and you've worked so hard for that, you've left yourself open, and you haven't been taking care of your best instrument, and that is head to toe of your personhood. So be careful with that. Everyone, be careful from that. So I just wanted to get my little 2 cents about Shannon Sharpe. He should have learned, and I bet he's learned now. Even his subscriber count has gone down drastically on his podcast. But nonetheless, live and learn. And when you were a child, you did childish things. But as a man, as an adult, as a woman, as an adult, as a grown-up, you should be doing grown-up things and making grown-up choices that would make your life better. And no one would be able to change or impact that. And I love you. If you've gotten this far, please click like, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye, y'all. Bye.